What's up, family? This is Youth Pastor Tyson, and I am here with one of my little brothers, Warren Sapp. Y'all hear that name, Warren? Not the football player, but the Warren Sapp. And I just wanted to, he's down from Jacksonville. He's actually one of the youth that have come out of this ministry, no longer lives here, went to school in Jacksonville, and now he's down. This is the speaker that's going to be closing us out on our youth conference on next week, and we just wanted to share with him on today and just get some of his heart. It's just glad to have you today, man.
I'm glad to be here, man. Good to be home.
Glad to have you today. I'm kind of like floored by what God has been doing in your life.
Yes.
And every time I say it, I don't want Agape to take the credit for it, or me or my wife or anything like that. Shout out to my wife as well. We pastor the youth as well. I don't just pastor the youth by myself, so I do got a wife. All right. But it's just amazing to see where you come from.
Yeah.
Praise dancing. He's a minister now, but he started in this ministry praise dancing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how was that road for you when you first started dancing? Dancing
was really the catapult into where I am right now today. I can remember it like it was yesterday. I had to be about 6 or 7 years old, and
wow.
I remember Sister Tanya was over, the girls dance who was here.
Yeah.
They had rehearsal, and Whitney, my little sister, she was dancing with them.
Yeah.
And all the girls was dancing, and God just began to speak to me in the middle of the rehearsal, and I had the thought of, I can do that, I want to do that, but it spurted out, and I couldn't control it. And out loud I said, I want to do that.
Wow.
And your wife, Miss Ebony, she heard me, and she was like, Warren, we looking for some male dancers. And she kind of pushed me, and I remember my mom saying, nah, that's a girl, boys don't dance, because she didn't know. She didn't know about any male mimers or dancers. So she was like, nah, that's for girls, you can find something else to do. Just stay on the usher board. And I was like, something just pulling me into this, and I can remember from that day on, they began to mentor me, and I had my first dance. I remember seeing Apostle's face, seeing me come up there.
Wow.
And ever since then, I just went forth with that, and that just took me to the next level. And then also, I remember you telling me to say something before you dance, and that just basically groomed me into being comfortable in front of people and being able to accept the calling that God had put on me. So dancing is what I'm grateful to this day. I haven't stopped. So it's been, I'm 20 now, been 13 years dancing since I was 7. So
and what people don't know is males were the first praise dancers or liturgical dancers in the Bible. Look it up, it's in the Bible. That's not what this video is about, but just to see where you can start, and that was, you started in ministry, period. It just wasn't ministry in the Bible, opening up the Bible, but you did. I saw it then, when you were ministering, and you would exhort, and then you get your little message in 30 seconds or whatever, and bootleg preach or whatever, like the apostles would say. But everybody can see that God's hand was on your life, man. So we did whatever we could do to encourage you in that area. And again, I'm just saying, man, it's amazing to see where you are now. I have some questions here that I want to deal with as we go forward in this interview. Did you understand the birth of your ministry at first?
Initially, not at all. I was so young and so still was learning about the world, and I just took on another learning experience of learning more about God and who He is in my life. It took me, I would say, until I got around my freshman year of high school to really truly understand what it is God had wanted me to do. I just began to reevaluate myself and reevaluate my reasoning for doing this. Is it for, as we say now, the clout or the fame or, the pats on the back after you get done dancing, or is it for a greater purpose? And that made me realize that, my calling, it wasn't just for me. It was for those who were looking up to me, my family. It got me through some, real hard times, and really opened up doors of opportunity just off of me being obedient and listening to God. So
amazing.
At first I didn't really understand it, but now I can look back and appreciate it more because the growth, I can see the growth from years and years and consistency and being persistent and persevering through a lot. So I appreciate that.
Amen.
And I'm grateful for it.
And nothing but the hand of God, man. Now, with you being a young man, you're praise dance, you're in a seat to where we don't mostly see males in, when it comes to liturgical dance. You're still in school. How was it, your school life, your school walk, when it came to being a Christian in school and somebody that's actually doing? Let me ask this: did people in school know that you praise dance at church?
At first, I can say it was, as we say, challenging, because Apostle liked the word hard. It was so challenging for me to balance that because, I played sports. I had friends, that was considered cool, so I didn't want to, throw my church boy stuff on
right,
me.
See?
But God kind of dealt with me with that, and I was able to, I remember it was a youth conference, and I was dancing. I just invited a bunch of my friends that one particular night when I knew I was dancing. I didn't tell them I was dancing. I didn't tell them I was ministering.
That's how you do
And
it.
some of them never been to church. Some of them grew up in church. And some of them just never seen a male dancer. But I took that opportunity to open up and say, this is what I do. This is my passion. This is my, this is me every day. There's nothing new about this. This is just me.
Right.
And the feedback that I received from them, it made me closer to them. It made me help them through sometimes. It made me become that leaning block that they can lean on because they knew I was already rooted in a great foundation. So it was very, very challenging to balance it, and I had to, be able to not sway back and forth and not conform to certain things that I came into contact with. So that just made me more confident to be able to see that I can still be me, but still give God the glory. So that made me even more hungry to do more, because it didn't say, oh, you lame, or go on with your church boy stuff. They accepted me for who I was. So
that's it. And it's easy to get that when you be who you are. When it comes to worship and still have swag and just be you, but be bold with your life presentation to God.
That's exactly what God gave to me. You can still, I tell people, youth I come into contact with nowadays, is that being saved is the coolest thing that you can ever be on earth. It's cooler than anything else on earth. So that's what I had to, make assured in my mind, that this is cool, this is fun, it's exciting.
That's right.
So
that's right.
That's just it.
And I think a lot of times with youth ministries, the struggle is, in any church, I don't care how progressive you are, the struggle is males in worship, and trying to keep that appearance up. You know what I'm saying? I was just, in the mall with you and laughing and joking, and now we in church, and then you see me, lifting my hands or crying. It's, I don't want you to see me, in a different light. That's right. And I think if you can't be accepted, being swagged out and a worshiper, then you're around the wrong crowd. I truly believe that. You're not around your friends if they can't accept you, in that worship mode. So it's awesome to see that you have a life and a heart after God when it comes to worship. Still staying on the plane of school, you tell us more about your role in, because you went to college and you graduated, you went to college. How did that happen for you?
I can remember it was a vision given to me when I was first grade kindergarten. I grew up always being ahead of my academics, and I remember an opportunity that I got when I was in 5th grade. I took a test, passed it with flying colors, and they came to my parents and said, your son can go ahead and skip 2 grades if you want.
Wow.
But I remember my mom being excited, saying yeah, and I remember my dad saying no. So I in turn just stayed in my grade, didn't skip.
Okay.
So ever since then, I knew my capacity of learning. I knew where I could go in my level of understanding in academics. So I always strive myself for being on top. So my junior year of high school, so all my life I just was on top of my grades. Junior year of high school, family went through a lot of struggles, homelessness, a lot of different things, living in out of hotels, getting kicked out of hotels, having to find a way to, just cope with certain things.
Right.
I learned that junior year of high school is the most important year. SATs, ACTs, college applications and stuff like that.
Now, this all blew up when you was in your junior year.
Yeah, in the middle of my junior year.
Wow.
Captain of the basketball team, wanting to do different student government, yearbook, just all this type of stuff I was involved in. My whole world just collapsed on my lap, and before my junior year, had the opportunity to work at the University of Miami School of Medicine.
Yeah.
So everything, it's like I began to ascend, and I just fell on my face, and I felt like the whole world was against me. And I could just remember that year and how hard it was, and how hard I worked to still be ahead, because I found myself falling and slacking a little bit, and I knew I was already ahead, so my senior year could be easy.
Wow.
So long story short, I pushed hard. I cleaned myself up, dust myself off, and just got to my senior year, where I didn't really have that many classes. I just could relax, get ready for college. And I remember all of the college applications, almost 40, 50 different colleges I applied for and got accepted into. And I can remember receiving the letters, but a lot of people look at the initial yes and don't do the research. So I began to research scholarships and stuff.
Right.
And I got the acceptance, but got told no to the scholarships. And I began to get discouraged because I knew my family's income. I knew that loans wasn't an option for me. I didn't want to be in debt and everything. So I began to pray to God, and even then, life started to turn around for the worst in my eyes. So I began to give up and give in and say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm just done with it, because I felt like I had done everything I needed to do to have an easy slate into what I wanted to do. And I remember, I share this testimony all the time. I remember I was so depressed that my mom, because I always uplift my mom with my spirit, that she felt depressed. So I guess she put her foot down and she came in the room. I had dreads at that time. She pulled me by my hair and she just threw me in the car. And we just drove to near Coconut Creek High School to this auditorium. And there was like 40, 60 schools. And my mom had printed out a copy of my test scores, a copy of my transcript. And she said, God is getting ready to bless you right now. If she said, if your expectations match what God has the capability to do for you,
mama,
it's going to happen right now. And I didn't really understand it right then, because I was still being selfish. I still was being doubtful and everything. But I began to walk and pray in that room full of colleges, and I began to ask God to point me into the right direction.
Yes, Lord.
And I remember that same day, it was a Thursday, so we had our power service. I had to hurry up. She was telling me, let's do this, because God is going to bless you, and you're going to have a testimony to say for our power service. So I remember just praying, and first my prayer wasn't, God, do this for me, God bless me, because that's a typical prayer. I began to ask him to forgive me.
Wow.
And even to this day, I still am reminded of that, even from speaking this past weekend, talking about being paid in full, God already paying our debt. By Jesus dying, it made me see that I was being ungrateful for what he had already done. So
many of us. I
began to ask him to forgive me and give me a new way. And I remember crying. I didn't know I was crying. I remember the admissions director of the school I go to now seeing me in tears, stopping me.
Wow. And
I guess it had to be God, because he just asked for my paperwork. He scanned through it. At first I was a little iffy towards it, because his motions, what he was saying, his sound effects made it seem like it was another, might be another failure in my life. But I remember him looking up at me and smiling ear to ear, saying, Mr. Sapp, we're going to award you a full ride scholarship to our school.
Wow. And that's the same meeting you were in.
Yeah. In that same moment of everything. And I remember just breaking down and crying and thanking God right there, because I remember being so afraid of not living up to the expectations that my family had, my friends had, because I was always, he going to be the one to make it. And when the schools weren't coming in. And
that's a lot of pressure.
The pressure just made me compress myself into a corner. And those words, full ride scholarship, because Apostle, First Lady had already spoken it into me.
Yes.
You're not gonna have to pay a dime for school. And then I just was reminded of that, and I was like thanking God. And I remember I was driving my mom. I remember trying to get here as fast as I could to tell my testimony, and still emotional about it. So I still look back on that with faith that God always makes a way, even in the darkest of days.
Yes, he does. And not to cut you off, it happens though because your mom saw it. She know where you was gonna be. And that's like me as well. My mom saw what was in me. I was kicked out of high school and for something very minimal. I didn't have anybody to fight for me, but the turnaround didn't happen until the light came on, and I saw the light was on. You know, and I received the other side of that dark time or whatever. You know, and kept pushing forward, and eventually got what I was looking to get. And you got yours even quicker than me. Same day. When you came in agreement with what your mom saw for your life. And that's crazy. I thank God for her too. She's one of our ushers, Sister Sapp, and she's just awesome.
Yeah,
she always been, always been at worship with us, rehearsals, whatever. She's just awesome. Second camera lady, we got to get her quality camera so she can get on the team. But we love her, and shout out to her. What we got here? Now, I don't want to be too long, but I want to move it. And I'm looking, now at my ring. I got to get my ring fixed. I haven't worn it for a while, and I feel kind of crazy. But talking about rings, and you got one that you finna be putting on somebody's hand. Tell me about that.
I remember before I left for college, I was dating a girl I brought to church, and I know my apostle. He's very observant, and he's very discerning. Definitely after the ones who he's seen grow up. So I remember him bringing her, introducing her to him, and you
might want to smile when you're talking about her.
Well, I mean,
because she is in the room.
But I remember this was like right before I left for college, and this girl, this is a previous girl before her.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Don't forgive me.
So I remember the struggle of, like I said, the conformity of being not, trying to fit a puzzle piece into a different puzzle.
Absolutely.
So it was like we were exact opposites. Like,
equally.
But I'm the type of guy where I'm attracted to people who need to be pushed, people who need to be uplifted, encouraged, and stuff. And she was that type. But I remember it being rocky, it being shaky, it kind of distracted me. So I just wanted to, cut ties. And I remember coming out here to the church campus to help Apostle paint. And, Apostle has a very, candid way of jokingly, talking to you, but giving you, advice and insight.
That's him.
And I remember me painting a wall and him coming up behind me, just painting and stuff. We talking about different topics, and him out of nowhere just saying, word for word, what you're selling for here, God's going to give you that and more when you go and leave home for college. And I didn't know what area that he was talking about, but I remember me cutting ties with a lot of things, and I just began to, accept the fact that I was leaving home because I was afraid to leave home. I was afraid to, get away from everything I was comfortable with. And I remember me praying to God to give me a spiritual partner, someone, whether it was male or female, someone I can just pray with, intercede for, worship God with, read the Bible, get closer to God with. And I remember that same day at the prayer.
All need that. We all need that.
Now we're talking about her who is in the room.
Your fiance.
Yeah, my fiance. I remember that same day after praying that prayer and pouring out to God, she popped up through social media on my phone, and it was a video of her singing praise and worship. And I wasn't really attracted to her physically. It was just her spirit of her, how she poured out. And I was like, wow.
Now you're not calling her ugly, are you?
Nah. No, she was very attractive. She was very attractive.
I was just
saying, because she was pouring out, she was crying out to God, and it didn't connect until I went onto her page and I saw AWCI, the school I'm going to. So I'm like, okay, God, I see what you're doing.
You had never seen her?
Never seen her, never met her, just randomly a video that has been shared through Twitter. So I'm just looking at the video.
You already at the school?
Yeah, I'm already accepted to go to school.
What's the name of the school?
Eric Waters College in Jacksonville, Florida.
You're there.
Yeah.
And you on your phone, strolling on social media. And
so I'm just strolling. So I come across the video and I go to her page and I see nothing but, God and church stuff. And I'm like, wow. And I was like, at first I was hesitant. I was like, I won't move too fast. I'll wait. And God told me to move urgently. So I messaged her and said, hey, I'm from Fort Lauderdale and everything. And then as we begin to speak, so much in common. Her mom's an usher. My mom's an usher.
Wow.
Her dad sings. My dad sings. She dances. I dance. Praise and worship. I have done praise and worship. So things just begin to connect. Even our zodiac signs, just things. We just began to talk about different things. And when I remember the first day I met her in person, the embracefulness of how she, came to me, it was like accepting me, and without even really knowing me that well. We never met in person. Never. All we did was talk over the phone.
Right.
And I remember us sitting down on campus our first day of college. Realizing that we're college students now, both going in as freshmen, talking about our dreams, our goals, and they aligned so as the Bible says, tightly fit together. It was just like what she wanted is what I wanted, and I remember asking God if she's the one, give me a sign.
Wow.
Now I remember in high school I always had a dream of my wedding. And I remember God giving me this dream, but I would always wake up before I actually see who the bride was.
Okay.
So that same dream came back to me, and it was her, and that was my sign. So I remember God told me
you
that.
were having this dream how long before you met her?
It would have to be around my sophomore year. My mom would always tell me, because I would do stuff around the house for her, she always tell me, you're going to make somebody a great husband. She was like, start praying now.
Wow.
So that God gives you the right woman, because she was like, where you're going, your calling, your anointing, people are going to attach to you, and they're going to be the wrong people. So pray for a covering that God sends you the right people.
That you're able to see the right person.
So I remember praying, and God gave me the vision of, you guys are going to be together, but you have to minister together. So we began to minister, dance together. Powerful. She would sing, I would still do my speaking stuff, and we would do stuff on Facebook. And then God gave me the vision that it's time to propose. So I ended up proposing November 11th of last year. And I remember the church just opening up and accepting us and pushing us, and now we're just that light for them. They look at us, and we're so young. We're both 20 years old. We're so young. They look at us like, that's the dynamic duo. That's what they call us now. That they're going to be great. They're going international and all this, all different prophesying to us, and we accept it. We embrace it, but we just ask God to push us. So
absolutely,
I just thank God for Apostle, because I always tell people my Apostle birthed that seed into me by getting kind of opening my eyes and my ears to accepting what God had for me.
Right.
And when I started being obedient and just listening, it just all fell into my lap. It's just because I tell people all the time, I wasn't looking. The last thing on my mind going to college was dating someone or finding someone. It was all about school and making something of myself.
It happen. Yeah.
But God just opened up that door, and I thank Him for it. It's been great.
It's amazing, man, because even before Apostle spoke, that your heart was there.
Yeah.
To serve in ministry.
Yeah.
And it was inevitable for you to connect with somebody that's in ministry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because anything that even down to today, for the setup today, you don't go to this church anymore. You know what I'm saying? And you've never told me no.
Yeah.
You've never told me no when I asked you to do something or help me with something or something. You've always been serving in ministry. So I appreciate your heart in that area. And your current ministry, where you're at now, you're working in ministry and stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely working in ministry there. I'm a part of a 22-member dance team. There's 22 of us, and I remember when I first got there, I was so skeptical of should I operate, because I was so faithful to home. I was so I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm just saying, forget what I came from. I'm gonna find something.
Right.
So I went. It took me 2 months. I went to that church, the church I'm a part of now, 2 or 3 months, and just soaked everything in. And honestly, their atmosphere, their energy, it reminded me of when I first came to Agape when I was little. How the packed house, the music, and everything. And I just would sit in the back, and I would just soak it all in. I remember God telling me to move. And I didn't know what He was saying. He just said move. So I began to, each Sunday, each Thursday, I would always move up. So I began to just move my seat up from the back row.
To the fight.
Yeah, come closer. And I remember not realizing I was sitting on the front row, one of the front or second row of the church, listening to the bishop preach. And I remember him saying that he was going to do something differently on Thursday for Bible study. So I came to Bible study, and I remember them putting us in groups, and they said, we're going to speak he gonna let the congregation speak instead of him speaking.
Okay.
So I remember them asking who's gonna speak, and I was like, I'm not saying that. I was like, I don't know half of these people.
Right.
I'm all, you know,
I'm in new territory.
Yeah, I'm in new territory. I don't know if they're gonna accept me.
Yeah.
And I remember God saying, open your mouth. And I began to tell them, I'll speak. You know, I'll do the speaking part of our group.
Absolutely.
And we were the first group, so we had to do it that day.
Wow.
And I remember speaking off defibrillating faith, about how faith can, you know, wake us up out of our spiritual comas, and how we can, and different things. I remember the bishop, me not even realizing he's standing up, you know, shaking his head, you know, in awe of what I'm saying, and how he came to me after and saying how confirming it was for him. And he said he sees something in me and he wants to invest in it.
Wow.
So from that day on, opportunities just opened. I ended up doing the watch night service with him.
Wow.
Spoke right before he got up, and he goes on after me. Was able to just that summer go to Deltona and do a youth conference. Just doors begin to open and everything. Amazing. So I just been operating.
Before you left, you were speaking here.
Yeah.
And when that was you saying yes, you've not one time said, I don't think I could do it, or you know, or let what would be in the back of a lot of people's minds. Not a lot of people here, or you know, get a big head and all that stuff. You know, you were working faithfully at home, which made a open door for you, you know, abroad. So that's crazy.
Yeah, I can remember my first Bible that was given to me from my grandmother. I didn't really know what to do with it. Amazing, and I remember just flipping through the pages, and I ended up on Matthew 23:12. Those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. And that scripture right there, I mean, I took that scripture I would write it on my take risks in basketball games, football games, and the humility and being humble is what brought me so far.
Amen.
As you said, I'm not one to say no when it comes down to ministry, because I have a mindset of God doesn't say no to me.
Amen.
And he never has said no to me in my life, or what I want to do, or what I wanted to seek out. He always gave me a yes. Amen. So I always try to do the same thing and implement that in my life. So
that's awesome.
That would be me forever, to be honest.
Amen. And we need to take on that same model, you know, because God has done too much for us.
Yeah.
For us to, you know,
absolutely.
Let me pray about it. Let me get back to you on it and all that, you know. God don't answer slow like that. You know, most of the time when it comes to you doing, you know, proclaiming His word, you know, it don't take that long.
It's one thing that a lot of Christians deal with. But I remember one of my first couple of times speaking, God gave me that saying, "What if I did what you do to me?" And I just began to think about, you know, schedules and appointments and different things, and I don't feel like it, or I'll see what I can do. What if I see what I can do, God? And that kind of just made me, like I said, I'm so appreciative of the God I serve, so it made me appreciate Him more, because I thought about that, and I thought about how I would do things like that, or I don't feel like doing it, or I'll do it later, or put it off to later. That made me be more urgent and more, you know, hasting in what I want to do as far as my calling. So that's just one thing I encourage people to do. Just think about that. What if God did what we did to Him, and it makes you appreciate Him more.
Answered, you know, what He felt like answering.
Yeah.
You got a bill on the table and you ain't got enough money, and you praying on your knees, and He ain't talked to you in 6 months. And you need Him to answer right then. What if He, you know, answered 6 months later, you know, and didn't show up like He did for you, you know? So we can't do God like that, you know. When you know that you have a gift or a calling or anointing in ministry, you need to get about your Father's business, you know, because a lot of ministries are lacking in that area, because people are sitting in the pews, know they have a gift, know they have an anointing in a certain area. That's right. Spectating and looking at the person doing the job they're supposed to be doing, critiquing it, you know, and fine tuning it. I would have did it like that. Only talking to themselves, and instead of coming forth to say, I can assist with that, I can help you with that, you know, or, you know, you get what I'm saying.
My fiance can attest to this. After, like I said, I was a little background is at the ministry I am at now. Once they gave me the opportunities, I aggravate them now. You know, I'm the type where I tell them I can't sit. So if I see something, I remember a couple Sundays ago, I saw all the youth sitting up on tablets and iPhones while Bishop was speaking. I said, you know, nobody's teaching the youth classes. You know, I'm open to doing it if you guys want me to do it. And there goes another opportunity. So like you said,
Wow.
moving in expectation and not waiting for somebody to pull on your collar, because
absolutely
the door is already open.
And most of the time when it happens like that, you get confirmation real quick that you're the person to do it.
Yes,
you're the person that God anointed to do it, because somebody else that wasn't anointed for that would have reprimanded those kids in another way. You know, you in church, Bishop up preaching, put your tablet away, versus seeing, we're in a different age, and what was the problem that needed to be solved versus the reprimand, and my wife, we've had someone that she was a teacher, so even with our children, I'm the enforcer mostly, like in our house, and I'll say no more than I say yeah, but I do say yeah, but it was more so like you can't always say no without giving a reason of, like, why are you saying no? You can't just say that's it and close it off, shut it off, because they're going to regress. You saw the problem and brought a solution within the same breath. I'll teach the class. So that's ministry again, coming to the forefront. You just graduated or got elevated throughout MIT class, right?
I remember.
Was that ministers in training?
Yeah, ministers in training. So it's Bishop A.C. Richardson School of Ministry.
Okay.
And it's basically seminary. I remember my first year going to that church, my freshman year, him speaking about it during Bible study, and I took interest into it then, but wasn't able to get in. So I said, next time it comes around, I'm definitely going to do it. I don't care what anybody has to say.
That's it.
And, I remember, like I said, I can be very aggravating for what I want. So I remember at the Sunday services, at the Bible study, after anything that we had at the church, when I saw him, hey Bishop, I want to do the MIT class. Hey Bishop, hey First Lady, when the MIT is coming, where's the paperwork? Let me sign it right now. And I remember him just saying, you know what, you're in there. Don't worry about it. I got you in there.
That's awesome.
And I remember when it came around, I thought it would just be about the Bible and everything like that, and read, how to study your word better. But the knowledge that I gained within a short, the knowledge that I gained within a short time span was so eye opening to actual ministry, learning the proper definition of demons and how to define what a demon is and how a demon possessed person looks in the service.
I love to see that type of ministry.
How to
deliverance.
How the studying of Jesus' trial and how he got to the cross and the different things he went through and the actual names of Jesus and his upbringing and just all the doctrines of the Bible, just going through them and everything. Leadership courses, exhorting courses, outreach, everything that you can think that's within ministry. It just gave me all the attachments that I would need to point me in the right direction. I graduated that I think 2 Sundays ago. Okay. And I remember a lot of people coming up to me saying, be ready. I heard it at least 10 times after I graduated. Be ready, be ready, be ready. And I didn't really understand it until you called me and left that voice message. Because I knew I had the youth conference in Deltona, but when you called me, that uplifted so much, because I was like, to come home and speak it makes me feel so happy to see, to be able to say, I grew up here. And here I am now.
And that was me being obedient to God. We've been doing the youth conference maybe since 2005, somewhere in there. Because I know I got ordained as a minister in 2005. So it could have been a year or two after that. And every conference, it's not about me or my wife or anything like that. It's about us praying and hearing God on who to bring in. What is the thing? What do you want us to deal with? And because only the scripture says there's going to come a time we don't know what to pray for. And the Holy Ghost will give us, give intercession. So we always seek God in that area. And even to close out the conference, which is going to start next week, I could have called countless people, and it just seemed like God wouldn't let me reach out to them. I even postponed the advertisement of the conference because I'm like, you need to plug this in, God. I ain't hearing nothing, And then I think you called me or texted, something came up and your name just popped up, and I reached out to you, and that was on my heart to have you to close out. And again, yes, no, no problem. I'll be there. So that's amazing, man. To hear that. We know we're getting ready for a conference next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We'll begin 7:30 nightly. And I just wanted to greet you. Just happen to be the one that's closing out the conference, with the first one to do the interview. Hopefully we can get with Elder Todd. I mentioned it to him. We just got to get those schedules together, because I know he has an amazing testimony, as well as Prophetess Michelle. So hopefully look forward to that soon as well. But before we go, what would you say to a youth, in 30 seconds, that's living in this time and age, to encourage them?
Basically, go based off the theme of the conference. We have the light of life, and we're lit for God and for Jesus. Just basically, no matter how dark it gets in your life, no matter how unsure you are about things that is going on, struggles, decision making, always remember that darkness. When you are in a dark room, your light is shining brighter. Absolutely. Like if you take a flashlight in the middle of the day, you're not going to be able to see the effect that it's having compared to in the dark room. So embrace the darkness, but continue to shine and always walk in your calling. I can end it with this quote that I live by every day, and it says, "Walk in your calling is good exercise for your spiritual man." And that's just saying, no matter what what your calling is, no matter what it is that God is uplifting or birthing in you, make sure you tend to that, you care for it, and you walk, and you as our apostle said, keep it moving. Never look back. never look back. You can't move forward looking backwards, because you end up stumbling, you end up falling. So it's always important to keep it moving. So I encourage the youth all over this world, whoever watches this video, is to trust God and keep your light shining.
Amen. Keep your light shining. We're living in a dark world, and we are the light, as well as the flavor to this world. We bring the dopeness. We bring the swag. You're trying to get it from the world, but we had it first. Yeah. The devil perverts anything. Yeah. So I ain't finna start preaching, but you're gonna see us again. This is Youth Pastor Tyson, Minister Warren Sapp. He's going to be ministering the last night of the conference. It starts next week, 7:30 nightly, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Where? 2230 Northwest 22nd Street in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 33311. Google it. You'll find us. If you're in the area and get lost, ask anybody, where's the church on the hill? And they'll point you in the right direction. We're going to start on time, because we want God to move on time. All right? Amen. We'll be back. Be dope.
Peace.